6, just to interrupt this debate, with Greater Manchester Police telling us that they are responding to an incident at the Manchester Arena.
Concert was taking place at the arena
They are
tonight.
warning people to stay away from the Manchester Arena as officers
There are reports of
report
explosions. And
On the air, I was looking at some of the accounts. Is it your understanding this occurred as the concert was letting out?
terrorist incident.
At the vigil and since, I've tried to stay really mindful of what this was about. You know, the news was still emerging, but 19, 20, 22 people had lost their lives. People are clearly going to be hugely seriously injured, grieving. I was really conscious of dropping the poem that was written a few years before into that context and how certain lines would gain a new resonance. When I delivered the line, there are hard times again in the streets of our city, that meant something entirely different to when it was written.
My name's Tony Walsh, they call me Longfella. It falls to me to try and sum up what makes this city, its people, its communities so great with a poem. It's called This Is the Place.
It wasn't about me and it wasn't about the poem, we had a collective moment.
I watched it on the news, but I had friends that were there and they kind of said, you know, they'd wanted to be there, but there was a sense of, I don't know what to say or to think or even what to do or feel. And then suddenly this poet takes the stage and gives everybody the words to articulate something they were feeling. And then over the next few days, I must have listened to it over and over again, and you start to think, well, that's what the arts are for, you know, to give language to that stuff we're feeling, or in this case, even to lead the response in how we're feeling. And in those 3 words, almost thrown away by Tony, choose love Manchester, at the end he kind of encapsulated that response. And you hear the words of Tony and you hear the actions of ordinary people that are so inspiring. And I started to think, well, how can the creative community lead that response and make it something forward-looking and hopeful? And that's really when the book idea popped up.
So within a few days, some guy had this idea to do a design-led book of the poem, and there's talk of some big names on board: Peter Saville, Kevin Cummins, Malcolm Garrett, and you know, these are people who define the visual identity of this city. You know, I'm of an age where those guys have been a massive part of my cultural life, and so that felt like an absolute honour. You can be corny, but the choose love thing, this was people giving of what they've got, saying how can we help, and you know, it's just, I just needed to let it happen.
Completely out of the blue, had a call off a good friend, James, who pitched this idea of trying to create a book and using the poem for the content. And of course, we accepted without hesitation. But then comes the kind of weight, you know, you're representing the creative community in Manchester, and that weight of responsibility. It's like, where do you start?
We sort of went out into town and drew inspiration really from the city. And what sort of came out of that really was that, you know, this stenciled, chiselled, sort of workman-like sort of typography is everywhere that you look. It sort of just felt right. Because the theme of the book is obviously hope, what we didn't want to do is typographically look back, but create a contemporary, forward-facing version of that.
People started to hear about the book, so we started getting these offers from people all over Manchester wanting to do their bit, really. And so we started to curate this incredible talent that was on offer. There were some huge names in there, alongside some young talent, and then a whole breadth of disciplines, and gave each of them a different line to respond to. And honestly, what we got back was breathtaking.
Sometimes design can feel pretty insignificant in situations like this. And so what was incredible about this project was it gave us a channel to express ourselves, and without that, I didn't know what we were going to do, but there was a burning desire to do something.
So we wanted to do like a wider editorial, a genuine journey through the eyes of our children that became like a letter back to the world and a positive protest all rolled into one about how they choose love. So hopefully we've achieved that.
There was lots of people that we could have chosen to articulate our line. Once we decided to use Alan Turing, we thought, wouldn't it be great to project the line onto the Alan Turing building? And the scale, I think, was one aspect that we really wanted to get across, because he was a big deal. So we wanted to make a big deal, of the concept, really.
A designer called Sarah Hardman came up with this incredible idea that reflected the city, it reflected the building blocks of the city and what Manchester stands for. And we just didn't know how we were going to do it.
We had to source original Manchester bricks, design a typeface that we want to use, work out how to get the type onto the bricks, build the structure, and then finally shoot the structure, and with everybody's help managed to make it happen.
There's an amazing amount of talent in this town, and I see it in music, I see it in poetry, I see it in writing, and I was aware of the design community, obviously. But then when work started coming in and you started showing me images, I was moved to tears more than once. The fact that people have done it, how hard people worked, the lengths that people went to make something beautiful still is very, very moving for me.
So the narrative for creative work was obviously set against the poem. And as the contributions came in, they were inspiring, they were uplifting, defiant, some of them. But we were also very mindful that this tragic event had taken place, and we had to get the balance right. So we took advice from the Peace Foundation, from the police family liaison officers, so that they could inform some of the design decisions we were going to make around content.
I think everyone carried that weight of wanting to get the balance right, and it's even reflected in our beneficiaries of the book. So the Emergency Fund, who are working with those lives worst affected. And then moving forward, you've got Forever Manchester working with grassroots community projects, and of course the Homelessness Fund. And I think everyone is hoping that the book will raise the kind of resources that would be significant in helping those people who are tackling these kind of issues.
The day finally arrives when the book is delivered. It's one of those moments where your heart's in your mouth. People have put so much effort and time. It's a huge team involved, and you just want everything to have worked out as you intended. But I'd have to say it was an absolute joy opening the first book up. And I think, reflecting on it now, it's something we're really quite proud of.
Most people will never see it, but I've seen firsthand the lengths people have gone to make this the best it could be, and the love, the time, the talent, the craft has just been overwhelming. The choose love thing at the time really felt like the opposite of choosing hate, but love isn't just the opposite of choosing hate. It's the thing that moves us beyond inaction and indifference, and maybe in a small way this book is just a glimpse of how when we all choose love, maybe it really can make a difference.
I think Manchester can be very proud of ourselves, not just in the whole Stand Together thing, not just in the choose love thing, but in the creativity of our response. Whatever people have got, they've given to this. We stand together, and I think we're doing that. Choose love.